Slay mama. Yeah, what's the damage on Wonderland these days?
Usually you get the tickets for like between
mortgage.
like $40 and $60, which isn't that terrible. But the fast pass is like $120.
Can't you get them for cheap at Costco?
Yeah, that's like where the
Yeah.
or like through the
Costco
Auto
keeps the
Club.
cost low.
Costco keeps the cost
You got
low.
that right.
Speaking
the
of low
liberals?
cost-
Great segue.
Speaking of low cost, welcome to the Goodbye Philly podcast.
We're here. We're doing it. We're having fun. Okay.
Okay.
We are joined by family friend of Steph's, friend of one of our
Friend
brother of
and
one of our
foe.
friends.
Yes.
Lucas, welcome to the podcast.
Good to
Slay.
be here.
We got a
We're having
grunting.
fun.
So bad at stuff.
Gren is on the pod.
Finally, we're trying to get your sister, and she's like, I don't know, I gotta look up my company's media policy.
Oh my God. Yeah, I know. I might be in trouble for this too, but we'll
It's
see how
not
it goes.
It's not like, you know what I mean?
Allegedly.
Like, just say allegedly.
Allegedly.
For everything. Like whatever.
Allegedly.
Technically, I asked
Opinions are mine only.
About, yeah, I asked
Opinions are
about
mine only.
doing a podcast when
This
I
is not
got.
investment advice.
No, that's all you have to tell them. Exactly. Technically, I'm not supposed to do this, but
Slay.
we're here anyways. What are you gonna do?
Yeah.
The election's over now, so people can't accuse me of bias.
Yeah. So we just have water this episode.
Yeah.
The
Love
thing
it.
was,
Staying
it was a
hydrated.
sobering election. So
And also, just the LCBO was closed.
yeah, forgot to get the Molson Canadian we were gonna drink, and it was closed this
you know
morning.
What? Honestly, blessing in disguise. I don't know how I would have felt about Molson Canadian going down my throat at 11 a.m.
Yeah, I was
don't know.
not
Yeah,
looking
support
forward-
local. Support
No.
local.
Yeah, we could have had like a bench. I got bench in the fridge.
Bench
but
is fun. Bench is fun, but I'm on the water.
We're on that
I
water.
gotta stay
kick right
hydrated.
now.
Yep.
So the election.
Wait, do we want to do a cheers?
Oh yeah.
Cheers. Is
Wait,
that
is it
luck?
bad luck to
I think
cheers?
it might be.
Okay,
I
let's
think it
not
might be
do that.
okay. Just a sip. So where to begin?
So hydrated.
Where to begin?
What do you think? I come into this as a concerned citizen. This is my civic duty.
Yeah, it should be. I don't think, and none of us are like members of parties, are we?
No.
No.
Huh?
No.
You can like be a member of a party. That's how like you would like if you were like a member of the Liberal Party, you would have been able to like vote for. Who
That's how
the
they elect
leader
Oh,
leaders.
was.
I did sign up for that actually.
So you are a member of a party, Stephanie.
Oh,
I don't think I'm a member of a
except
party.
I couldn't even vote because I waited too long by an accident. So
Okay.
I just really didn't want Chrystia Freeland to be the Liberal leader. So
enough.
Oh yeah.
Fair enough.
But yeah, that's how they elect leaders. Is like you join the constituency.
Yeah.
Like you pay money to the association, and then from there, they elect a leader.
Yeah. Which
kind of the
wild.
which I feel like a lot of people like aren't aware of that, you know, we talk obviously you have a leader of a party to like be the mouthpiece for the party and be the person who gets to be the potential prime minister or whatever. But I think what a lot of people don't understand is that you're technically voting the party in and not the leader.
You're right.
So like I saw a lot of people when Carney got the Liberal nomination being like, oh, so like we didn't even get to vote for, and it's like, because you don't. Like we elected
That's
the
how it
party
works.
in, and they get, if they decide they don't like their leader anymore, they get to bring a new one in because we elected the
Yeah.
party in.
Parliamentary system is very confusing.
It is.
If you haven't looked into it,
Yeah.
it can be very confusing. Where you have a prime minister one day, and then all of a sudden you just got some other guy who wasn't even elected, and then
wasn't even in politics.
you fast forward a month, and then now you have this new prime minister who is duly elected. Like that can be very confusing because I feel like in the U.S. it's very laid out, and it's just every 4 years, no matter what, this is how it goes. It's very well
Yeah,
televised.
and if something happens to their leader, then it goes to the VP.
Right. Where it's a little bit more confusing, I think, in like
what
the
happens?
parliamentary system.
Governor General here if something happens.
No, we have a deputy PM, which
Oh,
is like our
okay.
version of the VP, but that would only be in like cases of if like the prime minister was like unable to like perform their duties, like not because they got kicked out of the party, like because like say
Like a
they
medical
got like
thing.
sick or something like that, and then the deputy like PM would step in if the party decided like they'll be. I don't even really know, but I know that like them kicking out or Justin Trudeau stepping down they have to elect a new leader. It doesn't just like fall on the deputy PM
Right.
until the.
So it's not like a
remainder of the
president,
thing.
vice president type
No,
situation.
it's only like I think like for actual like emergencies.
It's crazy that like our extent of learning our political system is like expanded to grade 10 civics.
Yeah, no kidding.
You know what I mean? Like
got
we
that
didn't
right.
really dive
Which most
in
people forget
deeper.
because
Yeah.
you do learn that you like only elect a party in grade 10 civics, but like that goes out of everybody's mind by
Yeah.
the time it actually happens.
What do you think is a better system? Both of you.
Like ours or the states.
Yeah. Like
I
you
don't
either
know.
vote for the individual in the US where they kind of dictate a lot of what that party will do and you vote for the person directly, or is it better to vote for someone locally that will lead to a leader indirectly? Like what do you think's a better system?
I think I like ours better just because like
There's more like what's the word? Accountability in ours.
it's not
I
just like
think.
one person being
Yeah.
like I'm making all the rules. Like the MPs actually have some say in like voicing like what they think would be like good ideas. And I also like the fact that like you said they're elected locally, so like they can bring stuff that's impacting like their riding like to the House of Commons and like speak on that stuff, which like I feel like you kind of lose that on a federal level with the way that the US does it,
Sure.
right? Like they have like governors and like their like state things, but like there's not really like anyone for like your area that's like going to the president to be like, hey, here's a concern.
Right.
And I'm like advocating for my area on a federal level. Like there's not really
Totally.
anyone to do that.
And I think like federal politics is what gets the most attention. You always hear about like the prime
Oh,
minister
yeah.
races. So people I think have like an outsized view of how much like federal politics actually impacts your life on a daily basis. Because you think like, oh my God, all these things are directly impacting me, like who my prime minister is, which they do.
yeah.
But really,
absolutely.
like your local politicians.
Yeah,
that's
like
where
it's municipal.
like how do your roads get built
Right.
or fixed? How do buildings get built? How do the buses keep running?
Period.
Transport.
How
like
are
if-
things policed?
it's like that's what really impacts your day to day. But like I couldn't name one counselor in Hamilton where I lived my whole life or in Toronto where I've lived for the last 5 years. I can't name one city councilor, but they're the ones that impact your life day to day the most.
Yeah, and they're usually the least qualified.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
actually
know.
crazy.
But that's the thing. I don't
Like
even
my
know who
dad
they
could
are.
decide he wants to be a city councilor, and then
What's
like,
the prerequisite
there
for that?
isn't one.
Oh, so like I could go.
You
Yes.
could probably do it.
You
for
just
sure
have
Watch
to.
out,
They have,
guys.
they just you just have to be elected. That's pretty much.
Which is a good
it.
thing. You should be able
Yes.
to do
Yeah,
that. Like
yes.
it shouldn't be.
You
Again,
have to
what do
be
I
a
know? For the
lawyer.
record, what do I know? But it should be that way, where it's very easy for people to run.
It's accessible.
I just think a lot of people don't want to do it because it's like that's a hell of a job, big responsibility, and kind of thankless, honestly, because people are gonna be mad at
Yeah.
you no matter what you do.
Yeah. And people are like
It's tough.
like your constituents and municipalities are like really like aggressively passionate. Like aggressively passionate. It's actually kind of crazy. There was one, I will tell you the name of one Hamilton councillor. His name's John Paul Danko, and now he just got. Did he win? He was running for MP. I think he might have won.
Let's pull it up.
Federally?
Pull it up.
Yeah. I can't remember. I was kind of trying to ignore Hamilton's writings because I was like, oh Jesus.
My writing, it was liberal. It flipped conservative.
Really?
Yeah.
Who won Hamilton West?
Don't know.
Hamilton West.
So what was
MP.
what ended up being the total
That's where
seat
he
count
ran.
then?
Oh, I was just looking that up.
He did win. John Paul
Okay.
Danko. There you go. Hamilton West.
Congrats,
Lancaster
John Paul.
Dundas. Went from being a local counselor, and he was a bit of a bum. I didn't like him when
So-
I was at CHCH.
So actually, that should probably be useful to go over what the total results were.
Yeah.
So, as background, how many seats do you need for a majority? Is it
172.
172.
Yep.
So the Liberals ended up having 169.
Correct.
That is close.
Yep.
Yep.
Conservatives had 143.
Correct.
This is according to CBC, by the way.
I have the CTV one up too.
Okay,
so-
beautiful. We'll fact check in real time.
So federal v.
Yep. The Bloc had 23, NDP had 7, and the Green
means-
Party had 1.
which means they lost their official party status.
Yeah.
And the Bloc came close.
Even if you don't totally align with like NDP or whatever party it is, I feel like that's a shame that they lost their official party status, because
Yes.
that's like a voice to kind of it doesn't end up being like a two-party system. Like, I'm very anti two-party
Yes,
system, and
I
now we
agree.
lost that additional kind of voice to speak on things in the House.
For, I would say, the majority of Canadians, because technically the Bloc serves as that now, but as we know,
God.
it's Quebec and Canada.
Yeah.
And Yves Francois Blanchette doesn't think Canada is a real country. It's quoted
Oh, boy.
like 3 days before the federal election as saying so. He's
guy's
like,
a
Canada's
wild
not even a
one.
real country. Everyone's like, all right, buddy. So they don't really count as like, well, okay, they have a voice, but it's like not a voice that's representative of all of Canada, because like they literally don't give a fuck about the rest of the provinces.
Do you think they do?
outside of
Do you think they
Quebec.
do a good job of representing their constituents that they're aiming to represent? Like, do you think that it's a good thing that the Bloc can exist?
I don't think it's
No?
a bad thing. I just think it's like
It's
kind
like-
of unnecessary.
Well, yeah, because then like every like not like they're representing a province, but like
It's like a sample
on
size.
a federal level, and it's like no other province has that.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
But do you think? But isn't it?
we just
to
let them have a
represent-
party so that they don't threaten to separate. Like, I feel like that's the only reason why there's a Bloc
A lot of people vote. I mean, obviously they're not going to, or they didn't get enough to win the election. But having 23 seats in the House, that is influence.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
they can then use for their priorities, because people vote for them.
Yeah,
Clearly.
People vote for them. Like,
Quebecers love them.
people love them.
I just thought Ontario, like, a lot of ridings flipping to blue was, to me, just goes to show you, like you were saying, like how, yes, because we look at the federal government like much more and we like expect that they're doing much more. There's like a lot of the issues that I think people were voting for this election cycle are issues that are not the federal government's responsibility.
Yeah.
They're the provincial government's responsibility. And we have a conservative provincial government, and like Alberta, I think New Brunswick and Ontario for sure. I know Alberta and Ontario for sure. There was like a survey about like the least happy provinces, and they were all at like the bottom. And I'm like, so you're struggling with housing and healthcare because our conservative provincial government is not putting enough money into it or having policies that help us. And then you're gonna flip to a conservative federal government. Like do you
that's
think
gonna
that's
solve.
gonna help? Like that was just my whole thing, that I was like, the federal government gives Doug Ford money to spend on our hospitals, and Doug Ford chooses not to spend it on our hospitals. So when people are like, the hospital wait times are insane, like Ontario has fallen to like one of the worst healthcare providers in the country, I'm like, it's because Doug Ford won't spend the money. And like the federal government can only do so much. Like they can give him even more money to be like, oh my God, your healthcare system is terrible. Like have some more money to try and fix it. But it ends up ending up being in his hands or the provincial government's hands to decide, yeah,
What to
we're
do with that
actually gonna
money.
spend that money or we're gonna save that money.
So why do you think people voted more so conservative in this election?
Because I genuinely don't think
Misinformation.
people understand that. Like, I
Yeah.
don't think people know that. So people are just assuming that these issues that they're having with housing and healthcare is the federal government and policing also. Like, yes, we have, they're in charge of our borders, the federal government, and we have like the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, but like actual policing decisions come down to the municipalities. It's the same with the courts. There's a federal court, so we could reform our federal court, but there's also a provincial court. Not like these little crimes that are, I shouldn't call them little because they're not little crimes, but like the gun crimes that we see in Toronto, they're not going to the federal court, they're going to the provincial court.
Sure.
So like I just genuinely think people don't know that that's not the responsibility of the federal government, and then they just hated Justin Trudeau so
Yeah.
much and just assumed that the root of all the problems were his fault. And so they wanted the
wanted change.
opposite option. They wanted the opposite option, even though like you know, I've said it a million times. Like Pierre Poilievre holds the record for being the MP to vote against affordable housing the most times. So why we thought he was going to be the guy to get us affordable housing, I don't know.
6 houses you built.
I don't know.
in
Like
the
to
fucking
me, I'm
debate.
like, are we listening to what he used to say? Because like politicians, all of them are liars, like from any stripe. So like, yeah, he's telling you he's going to get you affordable housing, but he's had the chance to do it before. And while Justin Trudeau was in power, he was put forward some affordable housing plan alongside the NDP, and the Conservatives voted against it. So like, what? Like, I don't, you know, I feel like people like lack like that, like
critical thinking.
or just like throw up some research. Like I don't like. It's really easy to find information about this.
You know what I
stuff.
think also is something to consider is that people have long days at work. And then they come home and they got to cook dinner and they got to take their kids to swimming and then they got to clean the house. They got to do all these things. They might open their laptop and see something come across like a headline and then slam it shut and then that's it. Like, I don't think people have the time.
Yeah.
That's
or
fair.
the
Just in their
energy.
day to day, like, we're obviously interested in these topics. So we would spend more time to read about them. But I think the vast majority of people, there are certain, oh my God, moist.
First day with a new mouth. Continue.
I think that most people honestly just they want to feel safe in the streets. They
That's
don't
true.
have time to dive into bills and specifics and watch parliamentary commentary. It's not that I don't think that they want to do that.
It's just not their priority.
It's inaccessible. Like the nitty gritty is very inaccessible, I think. It's available, but it's aside from just headlines and stuff. And really, I'm sure there's a lot of people that are reading the Globe and Mail or CTV or whatever else are watching on the news, but actually getting down into the weeds because a lot of it's editorialized. And then you don't really know like what's the fine print, like what
Right.
is actually written, not just how it's conveyed. But then how do you solve that? I think TikTok's done a good job of that, at least bringing up the topics. But then again, that's even more editorialized because you can just
Yeah.
create content as you should be able to do. But then, yikes.
but
you're
then
getting
you
a lot
have
of
to
things
comb
from a lot of
through like
places.
what like a lot of the times people aren't saying what their sources are. You're like, do I just blindly believe
Yeah.
what this person's saying?
Yeah.
Am I taking their word for it? Like you don't really know. It could be
that's-
anyone saying
that's
this
part
stuff.
of the issue that we're experiencing right now with like the internet and just the wealth of like apps and information is that like there's no like checks and balances for what people say on social media. There used to be a little more strictness surrounding elections, like especially on Facebook.
Oh, Facebook's a dumpster
But then
fire.
you have you have people like Donald Trump coming in and telling everybody like they're trying to restrict your free speech, and so then like Facebook drops all of that stuff. So now you can like truly post anything you want on that site, and there's no like because they did used to have those checks and
Oh,
balances
Facebook
for
is
the
off
elections.
the rails. Facebook is off the rails.
Like
You
they
go
would
into the
fact check and stuff like that.
you go to literally any post, like news article, it doesn't even matter what it is. The comment section is a dumpster fire. You got people wearing sunglasses in their profile picture. And you know when you see that it's just going to be off the rails and it's just a dumpster fire. And I can't help myself. The comment section is just
the
too
comment
good.
section is great.
You see some way out of pocket comment and then like 79 replies in that thread.
Yeah.
And it's like, you know what else is really interesting too on that? That's how deep in the weeds I've gotten before of just like out of curiosity, like
Yeah.
who are these people that are doing this? And it's like there's hours in between. Like these posts happen, but these people are going at it for hours. You
Yeah.
just
Oh
quick
my
scroll like,
God.
holy shit. There's people that are talking about just this same comment and they're so off topic at that point. But hours go by and then it's like the next day and they're still replying when they get the notification. And then you just realize like we might be a little
TV.
mental health in this
Hello.
country. We really need to
Mental health.
we need to
Mental
round that
MHA.
up. We
Mental
need
health
resources
hacks.
for it. For
Well,
real.
And like it's just there's so much stuff that can be said, and I feel like sometimes too people obviously are like very passionate about what who they're supporting.
Yeah.
And that's what you run into too in these federal elections is like it doesn't matter what the party's saying. I'm voting for this person like regardless kind of thing. Like I saw recently on TikTok like this, you know, because you have these people who do like debates and stuff. So this guy was doing like a debate, and he asked this person he was debating with, who was a pro Polyev supporter, he was like, let me read you his like housing platform, and like you could let me know what you agree and disagree with. And he read the platform off, and the guy was like, yeah, I like this, I like that, I think this is like super smart. And then the guy was like, I actually read you Mark Carney's housing platform.
The classic
and the
flip, bait and
immediate like,
switch.
oh well, like that's actually like stupid. And it's like
You're allowed to
you're
agree on
allowed
some
to
things.
agree and disagree with, like, just because like you might lean conservative doesn't mean like you can like agree with another party's platform. Like,
Yeah. So what do we think about
Or
Mark
vice versa.
Carney since he was elected? What do we think about him so far? It's only been like a week since he was elected, but like,
I feel like he's got some sort of like voodoo magic. Did you see Danielle Smith's tweet?
Lead us, Big Daddy. Did you guys see that?
what?
Did you guys see that video of that lady?
No.
Oh my god, it's a meme. Watch it. Clip that. There's a video of him where he's at a rally or whatever, and then some lady from the crowd just yells out in like the dead space when it's quiet. She's like, "Lead us, Big Daddy," and he cracks up. The crowd cracks up. It's chaos.
I love
And
that.
that was
Yeah, I don't know.
I love it.
I'll have a better idea. Obviously, we need to see him like do some shit, but I feel like we'll have a better idea after he meets with Trump next week or this week. But I think
yeah, because the tariffs was like a huge part of their platform when they were running.
yeah,
or
but I do
campaigning.
think he's got some sort of like freaking Alberta's premier Danielle Smith, Miss like, we want nothing to do with the federal government, trying to be the next Quebec and like separate. She had her first like phone meeting with him and like goes on Twitter and she's like, that was a great
like, I'm in
meeting."
love.
And everybody was like, what is this guy? What kind of sauce does this guy have? Every fucking meeting she had with Justin Trudeau, she got on Twitter and like slandered the man for like 5 days. And then she has one meeting with Mark Carney. She's like, that was great. I'm really positive, thinking good
Twitter.
things.
Well,
so I
'cause
mean,
think
that's a good thing.
That's a
Yeah.
good
That's a
thing.
very good
yeah,
thing.
that is a good thing.
So we'll see. I am confident that his job experience is going to be beneficial.
Sure.
Like,
Yeah.
also the fact that, you know, I know a lot of people like the whole like nationalism conversation came up like because of the tariffs and whatever. I know a lot of people would like prefer to have somebody who's like Canada only, but I think the fact that he spent so much time working like foreign policy and economics also in the UK gives us a leg up, because I think
well, because the reality is it's not Canada only.
yeah, it's a global economy. So I feel like I'm confident that his job experience is going to be a good thing for the country, especially because right now what we need is to like figure out our fucking economy. So I'm hopeful, but it remains to be seen. And I can say that maybe in a year from now I might be like, fuck this guy, because even though I voted for him, I can have a criticism of him, which I feel like gets lost a lot, where it's like, well, you voted for this person, you must support everything they do.
It's like, no, actually.
Like, no, actually.
Yeah, I hope he's successful. As with any politician, like that's our prime minister now, and you
Yes.
hope that he's successful, as you would with anyone, because again, like
Their
their success is our success,
Exactly.
you know, and that's a good thing. But what are your other thoughts? Like in terms of what do you think the top priorities should be?
Ooh.
Or what do we think are the most important things to address
Like,
early on?
yeah.
First 100 days. What's important to Canadians?
Definitely the tariffs, because
Yeah.
that's going to make the economic struggles we're having like even worse. And then I would say like it's the tariffs and inflation, really. Like we need to like figure this shit out. And inflation is going to be a bit tricky because like literally every country on the earth right now is experiencing inflation. So
Totally.
One thing I do like that he's kind of mentioning too, that I think is a priority, is the crime.
Yeah.
Because that is out of control, even just like car thefts.
teenagers, man. should be rounding them up.
It's gangs. They're all.
You want to lower the voting age?
Jeez.
Let's lower the age that we consider them juveniles.
Yeah,
16.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Release the names.
Well, because this is from my experience, like working in the news and like seeing this stuff every day. It's very obvious that like right now the criminals have found a workaround.
Yeah.
And they're recruiting and hiring teens because they're like their names. If they get caught, their names aren't going to go out there. So it's not going to
dark.
like sewer their life.
God.
They're also not going to get as harsh of a punishment, and like it's a way to like get our shit done without getting.
Oh, that is
Like in
so
trouble.
bleak. I didn't
Right,
even consider
but
that.
that's really that's the only thing I can think that explains like this rise in like teenage crime, because like I would say we get an average of like 10 news releases from police organizations a day, and I would say at least half of them, at least, and it's probably even more, there are teenagers being charged for the crimes that they're reporting, and it's so much higher than it was even just 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think because even though people don't want to admit it, there was like a little bit of like a more of a crackdown on like how like the way these people were doing their crimes. So like the handgun ban like really impacted them, and like even though people are still getting guns because our neighbor to the south refuses to ban them, it's making it a little bit more difficult for them. And I think the punishments were getting harsher for them being like repeat offenders. And so they're turning to like teenagers and like recruiting them into these gangs to be like, let's get our shit done, but keep our hands clean. Even though technically their hands aren't clean, but they're not the ones who are being caught.
Right.
And you know, a teenager is going to be way too scared to snitch on you if they do get caught. So that's also like a bonus. Because like a teenager is going to be more scared of some guy who runs a gang than they're going to be scared of like a police officer. I think.
Especially when like they're out on bail the next day. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like they're out. Doesn't matter who it is. So I would be more scared
Bail
of the
reform.
frigging gang than the police officer too. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
because you're going to see them the next day.
Yeah,
and they're
like,
going to
"Hey,
be
man,
like,
what's
"You fucking
up?"
snitch on me?" And you're going to be like, "No, I didn't."
You fucking snitch.
Literally.
I think this goes to show though, like you say bail reform as an example. Who's reading about bail reform after
Yeah.
a long day at work? It's 8 p.m. You just want to watch The Office for like the fourth time. You know what I mean? Like, who's diving into the weeds on
true.
these bills? You know,
Yeah.
and what's going on municipally,
Yeah.
federally,
Yeah.
provincially.
Yeah.
It's tough to keep on top of your own life,
Yeah.
much less like all of these very
Externals.
specific external things that are very important. But it's tough.
Yeah.
It's so tough. You know, even making time to read a book, like just
Yeah, not
for
fall-
fun
not fall
dinner.
asleep
Or-
after like
or-
2 pages.
yeah, like you get Factor meals or whatever, like
Oh yeah.
delivered to you, which I get a lot of free codes for that I haven't actually
Brother,
used yet.
same.
I know.
I haven't
should
actually
try
used it. They're like, here, well, free
Please.
for
I got one
6 months. Here you
Right
go.
there on my counter.
Yeah, I have one that I found in my drawer the other day that I haven't used yet. But there's something that just holds me back
Yeah.
from just, hey, 6 free meals. Like, sign me up.
Yeah, and then
I guess don't
then
sign
you
me up.
cancel it after.
Yeah.
But
Let's mute the HelloFresh right now. I was like, let
As
me
we
see if I can do this again. I'll use the free meals, use a new email address.
how do you think people get more informed, or how, not even how people get more informed, like how does it become more accessible for people to get more in the weeds? Should it be more accessible?
I don't even know how much more accessible you can make it. You know what I mean?
I think it's
Like it's there.
it's
Yeah.
so there. Like there's just so much of it there that like where do you even begin?
It's really tough. Like that, keeping people informed and like fighting misinformation is like so hard because it's like we're such like like you're saying, like who wants to like sit there and like dive through it, and like it's like we're such like a immediate gratification like society right now that it's like all you really want to do, like you say, is like read one headline or watch like one 30-second video of some guy like raging about something.
Yeah.
And then it's like that like informs your opinion for like the next like 3 weeks.
Yeah. Seriously.
And you're like, oh my God, did you hear? And it's like, no, where'd you hear that? Like,
Yeah.
you know?
What do you think the sentiment on like Pierre Poilievre is right now? Because I was pretty confident that he would have stepped down if he lost this election.
I was pretty confident
and
of that
he's
too.
pretty much doing the opposite, where he's making an MP in a safe conservative riding who was elected 3 times the past 3 elections stepped down, who's like, I think he's like in his 30s, this guy too. So it's not like he's an older guy. He's like young in his career. And apparently that's the guy who's going to be possibly stepping down to
No,
make
he
room
will-
for
he
Polyev.
is. I don't know. I think it's. I guess it's
Yeah, what do
hard
you
to
think?
take. I guess it's
Paula
hard to
Dent?
take the L.
Hard to take. Yeah.
I don't know. His whole thing was like, the people want change. The people want change. And his own writing was like, oh, yeah, bet. Like,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
changing you. Like, I
Politics
don't
is
know.
ruthless.
It really
I think like
is.
that's what you realize is that it is ruthless.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think his issue, and I've said this before, is that he is just so inherently unlikable.
He's a prick.
He's so unlikable. It's actually insane. Like, and I've like obviously like I've got strong opinions about like Donald Trump, but like what I've never
Yeah.
had this strong like of a feeling towards like a federal conservative leader.
Yeah.
Like normally I'm just like I'm not gonna vote for you because I
don't
just
align.
don't align with that, which is like whatever. But I've never been like fuck that. Like Pierre Polyev
Well,
makes my skin crawl.
he
I don't know
had-
how he does it.
He had the election literally handed to him
On a
when
silver
he was
platter.
against Trudeau. That's how much people disliked Trudeau.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he had it right there.
Yeah.
Someone else comes and like that quickly, you're telling me like that goes to show how like little faith people have in you as a
Or how like
politician.
worried people were because like and I don't know why it's like it's like taboo to say who you're voting for. Like last election I voted for the NDP because I just aligned with their policies more and I was kind of also over Trudeau. I was like let's try and like switch this
I think
up.
I did too,
This
actually.
time I likely would have voted NDP again, but I just really was like I don't want Pierre Polyev to lead this country. So I voted Liberal, and I feel like that's what happened. Was a lot of people he rubbed a lot of people the wrong way, which is why a lot of Quebec, even though they still got 23 seats, the Bloc Québécois, a lot of Quebec turned
Liberal.
red because they were also like, it's not worth it to vote for Blanchette when we don't want this conservative leader in, and that was like really like from a lot of like the like just going out and talking to people, like every like news organization from like across the country, that was like a lot of the sentiment that was coming through was people were like, I'd rather vote for a party that I wouldn't have normally voted for if it means we don't get Polyev. I even sent her clips from the riding that he's doing the by-election in of people being like,
Yeah.
what the hell? Like even like conservative voters being like, why is he coming here? He doesn't know anything about this region. Like he's not from here. Like how is he going to bring the concerns of like our, like, which is what we were talking about earlier, the local MPs. How is he going to bring our concerns to the House?
Sure.
Well, because he doesn't bring concerns to the house.
No, he
like,
just brings viral clips,
yeah.
pre-prepared remarks that he has ready to go.
Jagmeet Singh did do the same thing in 2019, I think it was.
Oh, that's
Really?
right.
He lost
He
his
lost
seat.
his seat
That's right, in Burnaby.
in Brampton, and then he ran in the by-election or whatever it was in Burnaby.
Oh, and now that's where he stayed. Okay.
So that's how that works. So that's all. You're
People
allowed
said
to
before.
do
No,
that.
I
Yeah,
know,
that's
I
like
know.
totally.
Yeah.
That's all fine and
I just think it would be even funnier though if it like backfired on him and he didn't.
Yeah.
politics is ruthless. What do you guys think about? So if it's so close to a majority now, right? Like we can. We said the seats before. It's like
169,
It's close.
168 or
It's
something.
close.
169, yeah.
So do you think that further empowers the NDP in particular, like where they've got, they could be those last 3 votes? Do you think? Like, how does that work?
I don't think they're allowed to vote because they lost official party status.
But they still have the seats. Like if you're gonna vote
I don't.
on,
Maybe
have
they
to,
can't bring like things forward to the house.
But they
Yeah, they
can get
can't speak in that.
amendments
yes.
added in.
Yes.
Because like if there's a certain bill presented and
Yeah.
then they want to,
I don't know if Mark Carney's interested in that though.
but then how does he get things through if he doesn't have a? He's got a.
Well, we're gonna really have to try and convince Yves Francois Blanchette.
And that also assumes that all of the liberals are going to vote together also.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the
Which
other
they
thing.
don't always.
So let's assume that everyone votes for a particular bill. Where do those other 3 seats come from to get it passed?
The Bloc or
The
NDP,
swingers.
Yeah.
The swing.
Which
never
would
be
give them a lot
conservative.
of influence, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, but that's not to say
think
a
so.
conservative MP might agree.
It's
you
very
know,
rare. It's very rare.
very rare,
Very
but
rare
like
that they don't all vote
So that's
together.
what I would be curious to know about is like, what are the priorities, or the Green Party as an example? That one seat
it's one
matters.
seat.
That
Yeah,
that
it does.
matters.
It does.
So it's like it's kind of interesting that the closer you get to a majority, those like smaller, like the conservatives
they did
obviously
not have that
have
big of a majority or minority. Sorry, last time.
and the conservatives have like more of a, they got to stick together as any party would. So like picking off particular MPs to vote in favor of your legislation as a liberal is going to be difficult, just with how it all works.
I think it just comes down to business.
But if the Green Party, if they say, hey, we want X, Y, and Z included in this bill and you can count on our vote.
Yeah.
And then you get two other NDPs that are like, well, my riding needs this and,
You gotta
and I need that
negotiate.
bridge
Well-
built. That gives them a lot of influence to start
Well, yeah,
throwing
and
things in.
I think they did that, which was why some people said that the NDP lost seats was because they did that coalition with the Liberals to try and like push stuff through, but to also like get their own. But I think like what Steph was saying, like not liking a two-party system, I think that almost kind of like opens things up to it not so much being a two-party
Yeah.
system. Because I do look back on that coalition and like the free pharmacare, the free dental care, like that was like the NDP. That was not the Liberals. That was the NDP being like, we want this.
And
if
we'll give
want
you
that.
this. Yeah.
So like you're getting in these policies that like NDP voters would be like, hell yeah, that's why we wanted to vote for them to lead the federal election. So I think it opens up the floor to like slightly more policies that maybe the Liberals wouldn't have considered.
Yeah, it's a delicate balance, like between building consensus amongst many parties versus just having more like it's this or it's that. Because like, what's the saying? Like a camel is a horse that's built by committee or designed by committee.
Never heard that.
Meaning that when you've got so many people opining on things, it ends up looking like a camel because everyone has to get their say, everyone gets a vote, rather than if you just had an individual, they would design a horse and it just works
I see what you're saying.
Yeah,
better in that way. But again, like how do you balance all of that? It's tricky. It's very
Yeah.
tricky. But I just hope that they're all successful is ultimately what it comes down to for me. Because again,
Yeah.
like what do I know?
Right.
I don't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah.
There's so much more. And that's the other thing too. There's so much more going on behind the curtains that like the general average Joe person doesn't fucking know. And they're just assuming things and drafting like opinions based on like surface level things. And it's like, okay, well, like you don't
They read a
actually-
headline, then slam the laptop shut.
Yeah, it's
I'm
like
good.
you don't actually know. Like politics is, like I said, when we filmed our the American one, it's gray. It's not like it's really black and white. You know, it's not math. You're not doing science. There's no equation to it. It's
Yeah.
very much a gray thing. So like if you're
The ebbs and flows.
yeah, you can't just assume that the surface level of what you know and understand is all that there is to understand. Like there's so much more going on behind the curtain and
Yeah.
behind the scenes with politics especially. So I also don't understand how people can't grasp that. It's like you can have an opinion on it, but like understand like they're like, well, why did Trudeau wait so long to step down? It's like, well, there was probably a lot more going on leading
Yeah.
up to that. Like there was a process involved. It wasn't like a whim decision or like he was holding on to it on purpose, I don't think, you know?
Yeah, and he had a year left. So
Yeah.
maybe he was just like, let me finish the year.
No, I truly
Like,
don't
you
think so.
know. You literally don't know.
You don't know, but I think it was just like, okay, well, this is the procedure here. Like this is what it is. This is what it needs to be. And like, that's what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, maybe he wanted to like talk to some people to like see who
They were
could
probably just
potentially
figuring
be
this
the
shit
next
out.
liberal
Yeah.
leader. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah, you're right. There's so much that goes on behind the scenes. But I just think as long as like we can make life more affordable.
More enjoyable.
Yeah. Which again, this is what
More
I will say. I
safe.
feel like people's hatred of Trudeau clouded like the good shit that he actually did do to attempt to make people's lives more affordable.
Great hair. Like phenomenal
hair.
Slay.
Like I said, like getting like banding with the NDP and bringing in like that free dental care that helps families, like low income families specifically, get extra money in their pocket and also like take care of their kids' oral health. The free pharmacare, free lunches in schools, that helps make life more affordable. The $10 a day daycare helps make life more affordable. contrary to the friggin' lies that Polyev spewed on his campaign, he did cut taxes for the middle class. It wasn't a huge cut, but he did cut taxes for the middle class. They did not go up under Trudeau. They got a minor cut.
Well, my favorite
like,
thing,
these things were happening, but like you're saying, like the people, there was such just like this overwhelming like
A fog.
fuck this guy
Yeah.
that like people
and
couldn't.
you still see it. He's not
you
even
still-
in it.
I
Politics.
know
You still see it.
that like some of the stuff that was happening that was making life more affordable, and like you obviously doing stuff like that, it's like it's not gonna immediately, people aren't gonna immediately be like, wow, look at all this money in my account. It like takes a little bit of time to like start realizing like, oh, not having to pay for that actually, like that and that and that and that all added up. Like it takes time. So I'm like, that's why I was worried too about like a conservative government, was that I was like, these things haven't had time to like grow and really get people savings and money in their pocket. So I really hope that these programs, if the conservatives get in, don't get canceled, because like these are like small things that do end up making a big difference in people's like day-to-day spending.
Yeah.
So that's my take.
What did you like, if you had to pick something about the conservative platform that you liked? What do you think was
Did
good?
they have a platform?
They did. It came out pretty late. Let me do a quick run through,
Subtle shade.
because I did read some of it, obviously, because how could I not? I did
Spew
like,
off some
obviously,
stuff.
because they're gonna have like the
Oh, sorry,
harder,
Lucas.
the harder on crime policies. I kind of liked that 3 strikes you're out
Yeah.
thing. That I thought that was funny, and it tackles the issue of like people constantly being let out and like committing like reoffending like over and over again. But you also need like hearing from people who did that and then have now since like been reformed. Like you also need like
You need both.
mental supports for them as well. Like
Yeah.
it's not, you have to like really like
You
work
need-
with them
you-
to like change their
Yeah, you absolutely need both. But
Yeah.
the thing right now is that like you need to crack down a bit more than you need the softness, I think.
I did like the taxes, the new homes sold, like cutting the GST on the new homes and the Canada made vehicles. I thought was like an easy idea that would make a difference. I liked that, I will say. The automatic, this was like giving Doug Ford the ending the automatic annual tax increases on alcohol. I'm like, nobody actually really cares about how much money we're spending on alcohol. I know you guys think we do, but we don't.
You know what I've
Yeah.
heard that I found?
Between
Buying it anyways.
I found it so interesting that Ontario is like the largest buyer of alcohol as an entity in the world.
I didn't know
Did you guys
that.
know that?
Yeah.
Yeah, that came
didn't
up
know.
with the
That's
tariffs.
wild. Which is that a good thing? I don't know. Like,
I don't know.
economically maybe,
allowed?
but like health wise, that's what I think about is health wise. Like that's probably not great. You know, that's not necessarily
It's
a
going
good
somewhere.
sign. The money's going somewhere, but
Yeah.
like alcohol, it's going into people, which is
Yeah.
probably not a good thing. Like that, you would hope in the same way that smoking
Yeah.
over time. Like there was at one point a time where companies that made cigarettes and whatever else were huge. And then I would assume that those numbers have come down as like users go down.
Right.
Like you don't want to see consumption going up with smoking,
No.
you know? But then alcohol numbers
It's
are like through the
crazy.
roof.
It's crazy. Like I don't consume that much alcohol in general. So like to hear like a stat like that, it's like what the
It's
fuck?
alarming.
Really?
It's like kind of wild.
Yeah.
I don't know what is it? I don't know if it's the world or I think as an entity or just like as a province or as a jurisdiction, or I don't know what or maybe the LCBO is just the largest buyer,
Like
which is
from
kind
the
of
States.
from anywhere,
Yeah.
from anywhere,
Yeah, it's kind of
which is kind of
nuts.
fascinating, honestly.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah, I didn't like a lot of the conservative platform.
What was like
I said I liked the
what was
the
their like health
GST.
platform?
Their health platform was they were going to bring in, I have it up right here. they were going to provide national credentials for foreign trained medical professionals, which I actually, that I did like, I will say, because I've said that before on the podcast, that one of our issues here is that we bring
the credentials don't translate.
The credentials don't translate. Like when you immigrate here, like from a lot of countries, they don't consider your university credentials like valid. And I think that, you know, because I know immigration is a big thing for people. I think that could allow us to continue letting people come here, because people deserve to like seek asylum and to, you know, relocate if they want. Like, I'm of the firm belief that like nobody owns land. Like, be so for real. We all like, who decided all of a sudden that like you're only allowed to live here? I think it's so stupid. But I think that would help the issue that we're seeing with like the cost of living crisis. Obviously, like immigrants are disproportionately affected by that because they come here and get told your university degree means jack shit. And if you allowed them to just maybe do like a quick year-long top-up program to get in line with stuff we do here, like Canadian, like what do you call that?
Don't know.
You know what I'm trying to say? Like our
Like standards?
Yeah. To top up with that, then you would have them being able to do like higher paying jobs and like contributing more to the economy instead of like forcing them into like minimum wage jobs because you don't consider their degree valid. I think that would significantly help our economy and make people be slightly less racist towards immigrants.
Well, I do think
they would not be shoved into these bad jobs.
Yeah, one thing I will say about immigration is I am of the opinion that it needs to be kind of fixed because we're letting a lot of people in, and we need the infrastructure to support it. And I'm all for it. People come in, come, but like we need to be able to support that influx of people. And if our numbers are too high for that right now and we're overwhelmed with our systems, then we kind of need to bring that down. And even if you look at things like...
Well, that's why I'm saying I think doing that would help because when you brought these people here, it wouldn't be like it was such a struggle for them. And like we also wouldn't have to be providing them with like so much.
You see like a lot of people just coming on like student visas and like stuff and...
Yeah.
Taking advantage of the system too, like that's very clearly happening.
But then that has like trickle down here too, right? Like I hear from my dad because he works at Mohawk College, like the cuts that they're doing because they're losing money from those like foreign international students.
That's an issue.
That's impacting like, then it's like a double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
It like helps in the sense that like we're limiting the amount of people that we're needing to like support, but then it also like could result in job losses for like Canadians who are already here because the universities are losing out on funding.
Yeah, I don't feel bad for the universities losing out on funding.
I feel bad for people losing their jobs because of it, but
you don't want to see people losing jobs.
No.
But
but I think it's kind of a cop out. Like they're funded. They're funded.
Then he also said, to reference back to healthcare, he one of my favorite things was him talking about the opioid crisis. He wants to defund safe supply programs, which I vehemently disagree with. But then he also says they would fund addiction recovery programs for up to 50,000 people. I'm like, that's it? Like 50,000 is such a low number. Like, don't even do it then.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean?
Up to. So it might not even meet 50,000.
Like, I just think it's so like, whatever.
Overall, I think... I feel good about Mark Carney personally right now. It's like it's still early. He could still very well disappoint us.
Oh, absolutely.
As could any other party. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But so far, what I'm seeing, what he's saying, I'm like, he actually seems. I said actually to a family member, I was like, he actually seems like competent, and I feel like we haven't seen someone competent in that position in a long time.
Smart dude.
Yeah.
Very smart dude.
Yeah. Like someone who has like real world experience in fixing the problems that you look to your prime minister to fix.
Yeah. And he actually like answers questions. He's like,
what are your thoughts on Mark Carney? You haven't really said.
I think he's a smart guy. I think he's got a lot of really great experience that you like to see in someone who's kind of making things happen, you know? Like, again, whichever way it had gone, you want them to be successful. But I think that Mark Carney, like he was the governor of the Bank of Canada, governor of the Bank of England, like really, really smart guy who I think understands economics. And you would want that in
Like, deeply
any leader.
understands.
Yeah, like if you
Yeah.
run a roofing company, you want the guy running the roofing company to know a thing or two about a roof. You know, you don't want to just have somebody who comes in that doesn't, you
Yeah.
know? And I think that he understands, I think he's well equipped to handle what's in front of us. But then at the same time, how does anyone deal with, like, that's the crazy thing about, especially the president of the United States, like, you have to be the guy or gal that runs the healthcare system, and you got to run the education system, and you got to run the defense system. And those are multi-trillion dollar like
Portfolios, yeah.
portfolios that you're dealing with, and it's like one person that makes the ultimate call, and you have to be an expert on all these things. And there are people that just dedicate their lives to one aspect of one of those departments. Like,
Yeah.
if you're a doctor, you spend your whole career learning just about medicine.
Yeah.
And then if you
Yeah.
move your way into administration, you learn a little bit more about the admin side of running a hospital or healthcare system. But all that rolls up to the very top. And I think it is literally an impossible job to do.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
yeah.
it is an impossible.
You're never going to please everyone.
No, never, never, never.
And how can anyone be an expert
At running a
on
country.
running a country? Like, it's such a difficult.
There's so many variables.
And you have like millions of people that are working for you. So this is why, like, just giving politicians, I think, more,
Like slack.
not slack isn't the
But,
right
like,
word, but just understanding or like
Grace.
I think
Yes,
is the
yeah,
word.
yeah,
Where like you've got millions of people working for you, and if one person zigs when you wanted them to zag, and then it all comes back to you, like,
Yeah.
it is a tough
It's a
job
lot,
to
yeah.
do.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. Like, again, it's too early to tell. I think that he's just equipped, or it appears that he's equipped
Yeah.
to deal
Seems
with
like he's got a
the
good
situation.
resume.
But again, like, shit will hit the fan
Shit will hit
as
the
it
fan,
inevitably
man.
does.
Like, We went through a global
What are you gonna do?
pandemic 5 years ago. Like,
Yeah.
what are
who
you
could have
gonna do?
predicted that?
And how
you know?
do you navigate that?
Yeah.
How do you navigate that?
I think the fact that we didn't see like an actual like global recession says a lot about like how well politicians around the world like handled that, given
What the fuck
what the
happened?
fuck was going on.
Yeah.
Nobody knows, you know? Like, how would you? how
Nobody
would you-
knows, and nobody knows what the alternative would have been because we didn't do the alternative.
Exactly.
You know?
Maybe,
so like,
maybe if we get a global pandemic again, they can try option
Yeah.
number 2. But
Sure.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think it was really impressive that we didn't like obviously yes, our economies were impacted, and then we saw like inflation come as a result of like the workforce coming back into full force. But I think it's really says a lot that we didn't go into a global recession. I don't know how we avoided that, but
yeah.
And that is like maybe the most important issue of all is economics, because that's what people are talking about. Like, you know, they call them dinner. What are they, like, dinner table topics or whatever?
Yeah.
Like, where's the next paycheck coming from? Like, will I have a job in the future? Like, I think that's what really concerns people, and you want to know that that's covered. You want to know that that's covered. Your community's safe. But yeah, the economy. I think that's going to be a big one. That's going to be a big one.
Yeah.
And you want, like, of all places, that's where you want the most stability. You want stability everywhere.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
predictability.
But stability from like a stable economy like trickles down.
Exactly. And like the other thing is that businesses, like people that run businesses of all sizes, they need predictability as well.
Yeah.
Which is why this tariff thing has to get sorted out, because
yes,
like
absolutely.
you cannot run a business successfully if you don't know what's going to happen
Where you're getting your
within the
stuff
week,
from.
within the month. Is that product that I sell or import into Canada, is that
Right.
going to be 200% more? Is it
Yeah.
going to, I sell it for $10, but I have to pay $20 just to get it? Like, does that mean I now have to sell it for $30 or $40?
Yeah.
Like, those are the things that you got to have a steady hand, I think, dealing with all of those issues.
So we'll see what comes from his conversation with
Yeah, we
Trump.
will, because that's like the other thing though, is that like the unpredictability and the volatility of that man.
Yeah.
Like if you like you could think you're saying the right thing, but if you offend him even like a little bit, you risk the wrath of
Cut.
him.
You're
like,
cut from the squad.
like it's like that's why it's like there's like just it's so crazy. I'm like we're
It's wild.
we're letting this man ruin like millions of people's lives simply because he didn't like a tweet you made. Like
Yep.
it's so crazy.
And-
He's so unhinged.
Yeah. So that's that. And we have to wrap up because I have to go somewhere.
Oh,
It's been a squeeze.
It's been a
shall
Being in the
we?
squeeze.
booth.
It's been a squeeze.
We're having
How
fun.
easy- how easy that conversation flowed. Good job, team.
Slay.
That was good work.
Lay the house
How
down.
does this yeah, how did we do relative to your other apps?
I liked it.
I think we did
This was a
good.
fun one. This was a fun one.
I think we did good. I liked having you here. You're very well spoken, so thanks for that.
I knew
I
it
do what
would
I
be good.
can.
I'm like, Lucas is gonna slay.
I do what I can. I'm just curious to listen and learn more because again, like everyone's an expert on everything.
Yeah.
You know, like
Internet, baby.
people that were COVID experts. Then they became like war experts on social media, and then now they're becoming economics experts.
Yeah.
Like and it's like they just kind of go through like these different
They
cycles
cycle.
of
Yeah.
expertise. And what I'm trying to do as we wrap up here is just be a little bit more like listening a little bit more, and not necessarily being so like this is what I think and like being so emphatic about it and really earnest. Like I'm trying to learn more,
Yeah.
basically.
Listen and respect people. That's the
Totally.
key.
Be nice. Be charitable to one another.
Yeah. Be kind.
Peace and love.
Just because somebody might not be exactly like you doesn't make them any less of a person.
You got that right. Wise words.
Period.
Period. Well, thanks for joining us, Lucas.
It was
Thanks.
fun. So fun.
We'll see
Happy
you
back.
on the next episode.
You got that right.
Lucas is on every
Sayonara.
episode now. Okay, bye.
Ciao.